what happens is universities, from the best to the worst, from the most famous to the least well known, have been taken over by administrators. Administrators do not really subsume academic values. They know nothing about the Constitution. They know nothing about free speech. They know nothing about academic freedom. They feel that their job is to keep order. And so they develop speech codes, kangaroo courts to enforce the speech codes. And these are very dire developments. I wrote about them in the Shadow University in 98. And try to deal with them in 1999 when I started FIRE, co-started FIRE. And I would FIRE. The reason I'm running currently for the Harvard Board of Overseers is what I'd like to do is convince the Harvard Corporation, the so-called president and fellows of Harvard College, the chief governing board of the university with the real power. The Board of Overseers is a secondary body, but quite influential, to fire 95% of the administrators. It would have a salutary effect on the academics of the university. It would have a salutary effect on free speech and academic freedom. It would cut tuitions by about 40%. And it would create a whole different atmosphere on the campus. And the same could be said of MIT or any other place. I think administrators are a very bad influence on American higher education.
Can you sort of elaborate the intuition why this thing that you call administrative bloat is such a bad thing for a university?
Well, first of all, just in terms of the cost of maintaining, there are more administrators in American higher education than there are faculty members.
Yeah.
The cost is enormous. Number two, they are inimical to the teaching enterprise, and they feel that their job is to control things, to make sure there are no problems, that nobody's feelings are hurt. Being called, before a dean because you said something that insulted somebody is something that shouldn't happen in American higher education. Yet it happens because you have these administrators who think it's their job to protect people from being insulted. You insult a black student, you insult a woman. There's a disciplinary hearing. Well, there shouldn't be. Black people are accustomed to being insulted. Jews are accustomed to being insulted. Women are accustomed to being insulted. And it's very good to know who doesn't like you. It's useful. It's essential information to know who doesn't like you. If everybody is forced to say, I love you, and nobody can say, I hate you, you get a false view of what life is all about.
Outside of the university.
Outside the university. I mean, you do graduate eventually.
And that's ultimately the mission of the university, is to prepare you, to make you into a great human being, into a great leader that can take on the problems of the world.
Correct. And you don't do it by treating you like a little flower.
But what role does the university have to protect students? To women, African Americans, anybody, Jews, anybody who could be a victim of hate speech.
They protect you from physical assault. If somebody physically assaults you, then they get punished. But they shouldn't protect you against insult, because that is a violation of academic freedom, the freedom of the insulter to insult you. And also, as I said, it's very useful to know who doesn't like you. It's useful for the so-called victim. I think it's said, I want to know who doesn't like me. It's as important to me as knowing who likes me.
But do you also believe in this open space of discourse that the insulter will eventually lose?
I think that's true. I think the insulter eventually will wear out his or her welcome. I do. But I like to know who the insulters are.
Because it gives you a deeper understanding of human nature.
Yeah. And usually, by the way, my experience has been that the insulters have generally not been as smart as the people they've insulted.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the reasons they insult them, because they feel inferior.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a psychoanalyst here, but a lot of the people who are the haters are pretty low down on the intellectual scale.
Anyway, 95% of administration, you're calling to fire 95% of the administration. Correct. People should know, I think people that don't really think about the structure, the way the universities work, are not familiar, I think, with the fact that administration, there's a huge bloat of administration. When you think about what makes a great university, it's about the students, it's about the faculty, it's about the people that do research, if it's a research university. They don't think about the bureaucracy of meetings and committees and rules and paperwork and all that, and all the people that are involved with pushing that kind of paper. And there's a huge cost to that, but it also slows down and suppresses the beautiful variety that makes the university great, which is the teaching, the student life, the protests, the clubs, all the fun that you can have in a university, all the very kind of exploration, which you can't really do once you graduate.
Correct.
It's the university is a place to really explore in every single way. So let me just talk about this important thing, because I'm very fortunate to have contacted you almost by accident in a very important moment in your life. You're running for the Harvard Board of Overseers. What is this board? How much power does it have? And what would you do if elected?
Okay. First of all, I have a prediction.
Yes.
That in about 5 years, they're going to probably change the name, because overseers reminds people of the slavery era.
Yes.
And we're in such a politically correct era now that the English language is being restricted, corrupted is the way I put it, because certain words are forbidden. We have some problems in this country, and I think part of the problem is the educational system has lost the sense of what academic freedom and free speech are all about. And I think it's essential that the educational system begin to take more seriously what free speech and academic freedom really are. That's why I'm running for the Harvard Board of Overseers.
So let me just linger on the role of the administration in protecting free speech. So what often happens, I think you've written about this, is there's going to be a few, maybe a small number of hypersensitive students and faculty that protest. So how does Harvard administration resist the influence of those hypersensitive protesters in protecting speech, in protecting even hate speech?
Harvard has done fairly well under the presidency of Lawrence Bacow. I have had a couple of meetings with Bacow. I like Bacow. I have donated to Harvard a print of my late wife took a picture of Bob Dylan and Allen Ginsberg when the Rolling Thunder Review got to Harvard Square, and it's sort of an iconic photograph. She called it the music lesson, because it's got Dylan teaching Ginsberg how to play the guitar. And I donated one of those to Harvard. It's hanging in Bacow's office. The new president, Claudine Gay, is not known for respecting academic freedom and free speech. People have said to me, well, give her a chance. Well, I'm willing to give her a chance, but she does have a record. And she's a bureaucrat. I don't think she believes in free speech and academic freedom. I think she's a progressive, not a liberal. I'm not happy with the appointment of Claudine Gay, and it has made more essential my attempt to get on the Board of Overseers.
So let's talk about the Board of Overseers and your run for it. The specifics, actually.
Okay.
It'd be nice, because I think you're a write-in candidate, and the election is over on May 16th.
Yes.
And I think there are specifics. I'll probably give them in the intro. I'll give links to people, but the specifics are complicated. Let me just mention that you have to be Harvard alumni, so have graduated from Harvard.
You have to, in order to run and in order to vote.
In order to vote. And the process, I imagine, is not trivial, but this is done online, And if you're an alumni, you should have received an email from a particular email address, harvard@mgelectionservicescorp.com. And presumably there's a way to get some validation number from that email. And then you go online, you enter that validation number and you vote. And to vote for Harvey, you have to enter his name correctly, Harvey Silverglate, and spell it correctly.
Correct.
Obviously, I'm imagining this because I'm MIT, not Harvard. So I'm imagining the process is not trivial. You have to click on things. You have to sort of follow instructions that are not trivial. And I'll also provide an email if the process is painful, it doesn't work for you, that you can email Harvard and complain. IT help at harvard.edu and so on. I'll provide all the links. But is there something else you can say about the voting process, what you're running on?
This is my second run.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I got enough signatures to get on the ballot. Then the Harvard Alumni Association sent out a letter to all living Harvard alums recommending that they vote for the officially nominated candidates. That excluded 2 petition candidates, of whom I was one. And I wrote to the Alumni Association and I said, you have now sent out the curriculum vitae and the policy positions of all the officially nominated candidates. There are 2 petition candidates on the ballot. I would like to be able to send out my positions to the voters. They wrote me back saying, our policy is to only send out the policy positions and the platforms of officially nominated candidates. Can you believe that? Well, this is a liberal arts college, right? From the clash of ideas, truth emerges. Well, really? This is what I call Harvard's not so subtle means of candidate suppression, not voter suppression, candidate suppression. And everybody can vote, but not everybody can run. It ill becomes a liberal arts college where, the clash of ideas will produce the truth. We'll worry about the clash of ideas on the Board of Overseers. The Board of Overseers is important. It doesn't have the same power and authority as the Harvard Corporation, the so-called president and fellows of Harvard College, but it's very influential and very important. And it would be a great perch for me to try to exert influence for the university to get back to where it was before it was taken over by the administrators.
Well, I'm pretty sure that most of Harvard alumni, most of the students currently going to Harvard, most of the faculty at Harvard probably stand behind the ideas and the ideals that you stand behind.
Yep.
The people that love Harvard and what it stands for.
So yeah, the alumni were educated in an era when these concepts were taken more seriously. And before the administrators took over. So I do think if I get my message out, I'm going to win a seat. And if I win a seat, I will have a great perch for trying to convince the real power that be, which is the Harvard Corporation, to do the things that I'm suggesting. Get rid of 95% of the administrators, get rid of the speech codes, reduce tuition by 40%. All of these salutary benefits. Can you imagine if Harvard became the most affordable college in the United States?
Well, the affordability is another aspect, but I think before that, just the freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of thought at America's greatest universities, I think, is something that everybody would agree on.
It would have a tremendous effect on the whole country.
And is there something to say about the details of how difficult it is for alumni to vote? Well, you have experience with this?
You could vote online, or you can vote by paper ballot. You could request a paper ballot. And all I could say is that the hard part is getting the message out. My name doesn't appear on the ballot because I couldn't get enough signatures.
Well, Harvey Harvey Silverglate.
Silverglate. You know, when my grandparents arrived from Russia, the name in Russian was something like Silverglate.
Yeah.
And the immigration officer had several choices. He could have said Silvergate.
Yeah.
Gate is silver and gate are real English words.
Yeah.
He could have said Silverglade, Glade. Those are real English words. That's how my name is often misspelled, either Silvergate or Silverglade. Silverglate is a nonsense syllable. And why the immigration officer chose to transliterate Silverglade as Silverglade, I'll never understand. And it is the cause of endless mistakes in my name.
Well, the fundamental absurdity of life,
yes,
is also the source of its beauty.
Yes.
Anyway, we shall spell it out, and we shall yell loud and wide that everybody who has ever graduated from Harvard should vote for you if they believe in the ideals of the great American universities, which I think most people do.